A column of U.S. troops slowly moves through the ruined streets of an Iraqi city, covered from the rooftop of one of the buildings. Sniper Chris Kyle sees a man watching the convoy and talking on the phone. He is given the green light to take him out. But the sniper is unsure whether the man is just a civilian, so he lets him go. Almost immediately, a woman with a child emerges from a doorway and heads toward the convoy. Chris notices that the woman is carrying something and then hands a grenade to the boy. The decision to shoot is left to the sniper. But if the boy is an innocent civilian, Chris will end up in prison. In a flashback, Chris is hunting with his father and shoots a deer. His father congratulates him, and Chris runs to the catch, dropping his rifle. The man tells Chris never to leave his weapon on the ground. Chris, along with his parents and younger brother Jeff, attends church. Later, Jeff is attacked by a bully. Chris sees this and knocks the kid down. Their father tells them that there are 3 kinds of people in the world: sheep, wolves, and sheepdogs. Sheep believe that evil does not exist. Wolves use violence to oppress the weak, while sheepdogs stand up to wolves and protect the flock. Chris is impressed. Years later, Chris participates in rodeos while Jeff cheers for his brother. Chris returns home to find his girlfriend in bed with another man. He beats up the guy and throws the girl out. She screams that he is not a cowboy but a farmer and leaves. The brothers watch news reports on terrorist attacks in Kenya. Chris, seeing this horror, wants to do something to protect innocent people. He goes to a recruitment center, where he is told that the best option for him is the Navy SEALs. Chris and other recruits go through grueling training, during which most of them drop out. Ice-cold showers, constant verbal abuse, waking up at any hour, and long hours in the mud. Chris is constantly picked on because he is already 30 years old. However, he is soon accepted into sniper school. At a bar, Chris meets a girl named Taya. She says she will never marry a military man because her sister had a bad experience with one. Taya challenges Chris to a drinking contest but quickly loses. He helps her. Chris calls Taya until she agrees to meet him, and their relationship develops rapidly. On their wedding day, his unit receives orders to deploy to Iraq. We return to the opening scene where the woman hands the boy a grenade. He runs toward the convoy, but the sniper takes him down. The woman grabs the grenade and rushes toward the soldiers, but Chris takes her down as well. The grenade explodes, causing no harm to the troops. When Chris returns to base, a comrade congratulates him on his first confirmed kill. Chris replies that he has never felt worse in his life. The sniper continues covering soldiers clearing the city. He takes out one enemy after another, fighters armed with weapons and bombs. Day and night, Chris protects his men. He already has 6 confirmed kills, more than all the other snipers combined. His comrades call him a legend. Al-Qaeda puts a bounty on his head. The enemy also has a top sniper, Mustafa, an Olympic shooting champion, making him nearly impossible to track. Chris, stationed at his post, talks on the phone with his pregnant wife, Taya. She is shocked to learn that his brother Jeff has also been deployed to Iraq. The soldiers are informed that their primary target is to track down the terrorist leader al-Zarqawi, who commands 5,000 well-trained mercenaries. Chris cannot stand by watching poorly trained infantry die below. He leaves his post and joins the fight. The soldiers are glad to have the legend fighting beside them. In one of the buildings, they find a family that refuses to evacuate, saying it is their home. The head of the family reveals that al-Zarqawi rules the city and has a brutal enforcer nicknamed the Butcher. For $100,000, the man gives up the Butcher's real name. Chris relays this information to the base. It turns out to be valuable intelligence. The troops take the man to deliver his promised money. On the way, Chris calls his wife, who tells him they are expecting a boy. Mustafa shoots their driver. In the chaos, Chris drops his phone, and his wife hears the sounds of battle. Mustafa takes out one soldier after another, while Chris is pinned down by enemy snipers. Meanwhile, the Butcher learns that the man has betrayed him to the US military. In retaliation, he executes his eldest son. The man is also shot. The Butcher screams that this will happen to anyone who talks to the Americans. The Butcher and Mustafa quickly escape. Chris's team is pulled from the mission for failing to properly secure the area and suffering heavy casualties. Soon, they are sent home. Taya is overjoyed to see her husband alive. Chris tries to adjust to civilian life. During a medical checkup, his blood pressure is found to be extremely high. Taya worries about him, but he insists he is fine. Suddenly, Taya goes into labor. They rush to the hospital, and their son is born. Chris decides to return for a second tour and sees his brother among the returning troops. Jeff looks lost and broken, cursing the horrors of war. The team's new objective is to eliminate the Butcher, who, along with Al-Zarqawi, still controls the city. For his achievements, Chris is appointed team leader. A comrade, Mark, questions why Chris returned to Iraq, believing he is addicted to war. But Chris insists his goal is to protect his men. Intelligence reports suggest the Butcher may be in a particular building. The team storms the house, but the owner claims he knows nothing about the terrorists. The soldiers observe a suspicious house across the street, while the host invites them to his dinner table. As they eat, Chris notices that the host has red elbows, a telltale sign of a sniper. Pretending to use the bathroom, Chris searches the house and finds a weapons cache. Chris grabs the man and forces him to expose the terrorists across the street. The soldiers recognize him and let him in. Chris immediately eliminates an enemy sniper, then another armed man. The troops storm the building, but the Butcher escapes through the back. The battle spills into the street, where Chris kills the Butcher as he tries to flee. Time passes. His son grows up, but Chris remains jumpy at loud noises. At an auto repair shop, a veteran thanks Chris for saving his life in Iraq and invites him to a veteran's center. The man tells Chris's son that his father is a hero. Taya gives birth to their second child, a girl. At the hospital, Chris sees his screaming daughter and asks a nurse for help, but she is busy with another baby. This enrages him. Taya accuses Chris of missing their children's childhoods. He has nothing to say and soon leaves for his third tour. His comrade Biggles brags about buying a cheap wedding ring. Chris warns him it may have been taken from a dead man. The soldiers come under attack but fight back. They chase the enemy to a rooftop, but it is an ambush. Mustafa shoots Biggles, grazing his head. The wounded soldier is rushed to base for emergency surgery. The SEALs return fire and eliminate several hostiles, but Mark is killed in the crossfire. Chris returns home, but the war follows him. He visits Biggles in the hospital, who cries, saying his girlfriend did not leave him despite his disfigured face. Chris promises to go back to Iraq and take revenge on Mustafa. But when he tells Taya, she breaks down. Chris silently embraces her. When he arrives in Iraq, he learns that the enemy has been pushing them back for days, and chaos reigns. He also finds out that Biggles has died in the hospital. The troops are informed that engineers are building a wall around the city to isolate Al-Qaeda, but an enemy sniper keeps taking them out. Chris realizes it is Mustafa. A team is sent directly into enemy territory where the sniper is operating. Chris and his men take positions on a rooftop, waiting for Mustafa to appear and trying to estimate his location. However, Mustafa takes a different position and shoots a worker on the wall. Chris changes position and spots Mustafa. He's 2 kilometers away. Hitting a target from such a distance is nearly impossible. Plus, the area is full of enemies, and if Chris fires, they will reveal their position. The team calls for an assault unit to take out the enemy sniper's hideout. Despite his commander's order not to shoot, Chris pulls the trigger and kills Mustafa from an extreme distance. But the shot exposes them. The enemies spot the team and charge toward them. The covering unit needs time to reach them, but for now, they are surrounded. The SEALs return fire, but more and more enemies arrive. Chris calls his wife and says, "I'm ready to come home, baby." A powerful sandstorm sweeps over the battlefield, reducing visibility to almost zero. In the chaos, the soldiers slide down a pole to the ground and fight their way out. Reinforcements arrive, and 3 SEALs manage to jump into a vehicle. Chris is shot in the leg and falls. With his last strength, he gets up and climbs into the transport. Chris refuses to re-enlist and returns home, but he is even more withdrawn than before. His children play nearby, but he just sits in silence, staring at a turned-off television. At a children's party, a dog playfully knocks a child to the ground. Chris sees this as a threat and nearly beats the dog before his wife starts screaming in horror. After receiving help from a therapist, Chris finally reconnects with his children and wife. He teaches his son to hunt, telling him that taking a life is not something to be taken lightly. Taya is overjoyed that her husband is finally back, both physically and emotionally. Chris gently kisses her. The former sniper decides to help other veterans rehabilitate. He agrees to go to a shooting range with another Iraq War veteran to talk and shoot together. But Chris never returns home. The veteran has a breakdown and kills Chris at the shooting range. How did you feel about the movie American Sniper? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.